All right, we're back. You know, I've been spending a lot of time lately with my systems theory books, trying to find the logic in the chaos, but this text, it moves us back into a much more visceral territory.
Much more. It's blood and bronze and old, heavy shadows.
And a lot of very intense family reunion.
Exactly. We're picking up with the hymn, looking at this idea of a shadow history. The authors are tracing these lineages of people, and even entire species, or demonic races, as the text calls them.
Demonic races. Let's call them uninvited guests and see if the historians stop screaming.
Right, but look at how they start. They're talking about the island of Capernaum, Hecate, and these beings called Lamia or Lilim. But then they pivot to something much more productive. They bring in Blavatsky to talk about the Kabiri.
The Kabiri. I love this part. They aren't just monsters lurking in a cave. The text says they were cultural role models. They taught humanity agriculture, metallurgy. They were the ones who brought the tools.
Yeah, but they were also sea gods and dwellers of the abyss. It's that classic vibe, isn't it? The most advanced technology comes from the places we're most afraid to look.
It's interesting because they link the Kabiri to the Titans and even the Giants. And look at this specific claim, the men were the smiths, the masters of metal, while the women were the weavers of spells.
A very convenient way to split the workload, isn't it? Men do the heavy lifting and the math. Women do the magic.
Hey, don't knock the magic. The text says the men invented the alphabet and mathematics. That's a heavy flex for a bunch of underground gods.
But it gets even more concrete. They list the actual artifacts. The bronze sickle of Saturn, the trident of Poseidon, even the helmet of Hades. The authors are arguing that these demonic smiths provided the very toolkit of civilization.
And it's all connected to this one figure, Cain.
Right. The text claims Blavatsky identified Cain as one of the Kabiri, a mentor to anyone working with copper or iron.
Wait. I gotta stop you there. We've talked about Cain before in our discussions on the shadow history, but here they are linking him directly to the Persian traditions.
This is the connection the authors are obsessed with. They link Cain to Arbayuum, a Sumerian king which they claim translates to the serpent. And then, and this is the huge leap, they link that name to Mazda.
As in Ahura Mazda, the Lord of Light?
Exactly, the Serpent of Light. They're building this bridge from a biblical murderer to the very pinnacle of Zoroastrian divinity.
That is a massive bridge. You're taking the villain of the Genesis story and making him the architect of the Persian light tradition?
It's a bold move. It's either brilliant or completely unhinged.
Well, it leads us straight into the heart of the matter, Lilith.
And here's where the text gets really juicy. They mention Gardner's claim that Lilith was the wife of Mazda, the queen of Gnosis.
And then they hit us with the why of her reputation. This is what we were talking about last week regarding the suppression of the feminine.
The text says her reputation as a child killer is actually a patriarchal reaction to her refusal to serve men or participate in the traditional cycle of motherhood.
It's so much more than that. The authors bring in Black Cult if she says Lilith represents the lunar consciousness, the parts of the self that embrace death, decay, and rebirth, the dark side of the moon that the church tried to erase.
It's the same old story. You find a goddess that is too powerful, too independent, and you turn her into a demoness.
And they don't stop at the psychology. They go into the astrology. They talk about the dark moon Lilith, the asteroid between Earth and the moon.
Which, let's be honest, is a terrifying place to be.
It's described as a shadow of the self that drives us to self-destruction and uncontrolled desires. But in Here's the Luciferian Twist, we love it can also be a teacher.
Accept your shadows, the text quotes Lynn Steele Smith. I will lead you through the labyrinth to the light of self-knowledge.
Now that is a dark mentor. That's psychology as a direct invitation to theurgy.
But it gets even more biological. The text concludes with this wild idea that Lilith and Samael aren't just spirits, they are the evolutionary bridge.
Here we go. The demons, elves, and fairies part.
They argue that through their contact with humans, they infused our species with a seed of another order of evolution. That the Fae are literally the byproduct of this divine, forbidden union.
So you tell me the Tooth Fairy might actually be an evolutionary experiment in shadow genetics?
I mean, if you believe the authors, Paco, we're all just walking experiments in cosmic alchemy.
It certainly makes the history of progress look a lot more complicated than the textbooks suggest. All right, we're moving into the heavy machinery now. We just finished talking about the biological bridge of Lilith and Samael. But the text is about to take that idea and apply it to actual mythic history.
It's moving from the what to the how. Like, how did this genetic or spiritual infusion actually manifest in our stories?
Exactly. Look at this. The authors bring in the Celtic Church. They claim that when Lucifer fell, he brought a whole host of angels down with him, long before humans even arrived. And these beings, they didn't just vanish. They became magical races.
The angels of the mother below. See, this is that uninvited guest vibe again. They're just hanging out in the periphery waiting for a chance to interact with us.
And they use the Arthurian legends to prove it. Because, of course, if you want to talk about forbidden unions, you go straight to Merlin.
Right. Look how they reframe Merlin and Nimue. The Christian version is all sinful lust and deceit, but the authors argue this is actually a magical marriage. They say it's a spiritual operation, the threefold union, to reunite the human, the elfin, and the angelic planes.
I love that phrasing. Reunite the planes. It's not about a messy breakup. It's about repairing a fracture in reality.
But wait, look at the description of Merlin's father. The text quotes Geoffrey of Monmouth saying he was a beautiful young man of the spirit race, dwelling between the moon and the earth.
Demons, according to the text, but then it says they are naturally connected to both humans and angels.
And here's the kicker. They claim when Nimue and Merlin finally understood each other, when the earthly met the stellar, they didn't just fall into a trap. They entered a cosmic marriage and took the children of the earth with them to the stars.
That's so much more beautiful than the witch hunting version of the story. It's not a tragedy, it's an ascension.
But the official history tried to kill it. The authors are very blunt here. Patriarchal propagandists spent centuries demonizing these myths, twisting these invasions of evolutionary progress into treaties with demonic forces.
Well, if someone shows up in your backyard and starts teaching you how to use a plow and a microscope, you're probably going to call them a demon eventually.
It's the same pattern we saw with the Kabiri. But now, the text shifts focus to something even more visceral. It moves into the craft itself.
The witch blood?
Yeah. They're saying that even though the symbols have been falsified or corrupted by centuries of religious conflict, the actual practice, the use of animal masks, the shamanic roots, it's still there. It's a survival mechanism.
And they claim it's carried by people with a specific mark, the mark of Cain or the mark of Seth.
So, if you're a good witch, you're basically part descendant of a prehistoric murderer? That's a hell of a branding strategy.
It's definitely not for the faint of heart. But look at who they connect this mark to. They link the horned god of the witches, this figure of the dark satyr to a massive global list, Cernunnos, Pan, even the Islamic Iblis and the Jewish Azazel.
It's a single thread running through everything. The great serpent of light.
And now get this. He's a forest god and a bull.
A bull. And they go on this massive, incredible sprawl through history. They bring in the Epic of Gilgamesh, the bull of heaven, Enkidu being half bull. They bring in Marduk, the Babylonian god of light, riding a chariot of storms.
Even the Canaanites had a bull god Baal.
It's everywhere. It's in the golden calf of the Exodus. It's in the Indian Shiva. It's even in the Egyptian Apis.
Wait, hold on. I just saw the connection. They're linking the Cretan Minotaur to this sacred marriage too.
Exactly. They argue that the myth of Pasiphae and the bull isn't just a weird story about a queen and a cow. It's a hieros gamos, a sacred marriage between the solar, phallic power of the bull and the lunar, shining power of the queen.
And the result of that sacred union is the Minotaur monster trapped in a labyrinth.
Which, if you think about a bit, is exactly what happens when the divine is forced into a material prison.
The text says the labyrinth was built by Daedalus to hide the truth. But Ariadne, the daughter of Minos, is a simple thread to lead the way out.
The thread of connection. It always comes back to the thread, doesn't it? The connection between the human and the divine.
It really does. Whether it's a thread of yarn or a lineage of witch blood, the authors are insisting that the path out of the labyrinth is always there, hidden in the shadows of the myths we've been taught to fear. So, we've been following this trail of breadcrumbs from the Kabiri Smiths, through the magical marriage of Merlin, all the way to the shadow genetics of the Fae. And now, the authors take us to the most primal symbol of them all.
The bull.
Exactly, but they're talking about this black bull that connects everything from ancient India to the Celtic hills of Britain.
Yuk-A-Esh.
Let me guess. It's a cosmic engine of destruction and creation.
Precisely. Look at how they phrase it. They start with India, the concept of Parjanya, the bull as a fertilizer of the Mother Earth. But then they jump to the black bull of the north, an Altai tradition that brings fertilizing rains.
It's like this global rhythmic heartbeat. They're saying that whether it's in Persia or the British Isles, this figure is the same. The bull is the Vajra, the diamond lightning.
So, the bull isn't just standing in a field, he's literally striking the earth with lightning to make things grow. That's a heavy-duty metaphor for fertility.
And it gets more local. To look at Roman Britain, the Druids, the white bulls sacrificed in sacred groves. They even mention this horned god with a horned serpent on his head.
Wait, the horned serpent? That sounds suspiciously like the same serpent of light we were discussing with the Cain Mazda connection earlier.
It is. It's the same thread, Jane. The authors connect this horned god to Kernanos, to the Gundestrup cauldron, even to a bull in Trier and Paris that has 3 cranes sitting on its back.
The crane dance, they link it to the lame god. It's all these fragmented pieces of a broken mirror trying to show us one single ancient ritual.
But then, and here's where it gets spooky, they move away from the agriculture and prosperity part and into the real mystery, the deep, less noticeable layer of mystery.
Right. This is where the shadow history really takes hold. They claim the bull is the embodiment of the mysteries of eternity, time, and the celestial procession of the equinoxes.
So, we're not talking about a ritual to ensure a good harvest anymore. We're talking about the Via Luminalis, the cult of disorder.
They explicitly link this bull cult to the Sabbatic cult of the witches. They're saying that the wild, chaotic energy of the Witches Sabbath is actually a direct survival of this ancient, pre-human ritual of the Black Bull.
That is a massive claim. They are saying the chaos of the witches isn't just rebellion, it's a cosmic operation. It's the descent solution of boundaries between the human and the non-human.
It's the time between times. The authors talk about the 13th hour of the Black Bull at midnight, where the clock strikes 13 and the boundaries of reality just melt.
I love that. The 13th hour. It's the perfect way to describe that feeling when you're so deep in a trance or ritual that you forget where your body ends and the room begins.
And they tie it back to the stars. They link the constellation of the Great Bear the Plough to the Wild Hunt. They even say that in Egypt, the plough was called the Golden Bull, the very home of Set.
So the villain of Egypt, the god of chaos, is actually part of the same celestial bull-driven structure. It's all interconnected. The shadow isn't an enemy, it's the foundation.
But look at the pushback. They mention the 7th century Archbishop Theodore of Canterbury trying to stop the people from wearing these masks during the winter solstice. He wanted to cleanse the Anglo-Saxons of these pagan leftovers.
And yet, the authors show that the ancients survived. In the Cotswolds and West Country, the Christmas bull lasted well into the 20th century. A man covered in bull skin, parading through the streets.
It's like a ghost in the machinery of history. The church can ban the mask, but they can't kill the impulse to become the beast.
It's that uncontrolled ecstatic energy. The text says the black bull with golden horns is the symbol of the Saturnian Mysteries, the madness of the devotees, drunk on sacred wine, beating drums under the techt, cold northern stars.
It sounds exhausting, but also incredibly liberating to just let the disorder take over for a night.
But the authors end this section with a final heavy pivot. They suggest that this entire sabbatic tradition, the whole wild, chaotic, bull-masked chaos, might actually have been heavily influenced by Arabic sources during the Moorish period in Spain.
So, the European witch tradition is actually a Moorish inheritance?
They're suggesting that the shadow we see in the West is actually a much older, much more diverse, much more globalized magic than we ever dared to imagine.
It's more than a local folktale. It's a global, cosmic reconstruction.
Well, if the 11th hour was the time of the king, I guess the 13th hour is where we all finally find the truth, even if it's a bit messy. Oh, hold on, I think I hear the doorbell. The Korean food is actually here.
Perfect, because if I have to contemplate any more ancient shadows without some kimchi, I'm going to lose it.